There are many famous celebrities who have a stutter and use their platform to spread awareness about stuttering. But there's also many artists who are using their platform to make strides in the fight to destigmatize stuttering. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a few amazing artists who are doing just that. They are using their voice as an artist to educate and build awareness about stuttering. First up is Paul Aston, an artist from Cambridge, England. I'd like to introduce someone very special, Mr. Paul Aston, who is an artist and a fellow stutterer. He has created paintings to capture what stuttering looks like. So Paul, are you able to tell us a little bit about your personal experience having a stutter?
Okay then. And hi there, Neenah. Uh, nice, to, nice to, nice to meet you. Um, um, I've had a stutter for as long as I can remember now. I did have some speech therapy at school, and strangely, that was the first time that I ever noticed that I had a stutter. I was hauled out of a classroom one day and introduced to a woman who took me into a side room and said, right, you've got our stutter and we're going to get rid of this for you. And I thought, oh gosh, what's our stutter? Strangely. Yeah. So um and um um and we tried all sorts of techniques that I didn't really get on with, and 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 I put that all to bed for a while there. But it did leave me with this feeling that my stutter was a problem and a thing that I should feel ashamed about. And it wasn't until I was in my 50s that I read a book called Stammering, Pride and Prejudice, and it flipped all these views on on their head, and I started to see my speech as a, a, a difference and not a defect in how speech is, and that um, it adds something that is is out of the norm to everyday speech, and it involves um, much more intimate conversations in our way, just because people have to um, listen that bit closer to what I say because of how I say things. Yes, yeah. So in a nutshell, that's how things started off for me. Yes, yes.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I can relate to absolutely all of that. I started my speech therapy with Crystal, who is an amazing, amazing human being. I love her so much. But I started my speech therapy about like maybe 6 months ago ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like I knew that I did have a stutter, but it wasn't really something that I was able to like have the resources to be able to be introduced to speech therapy for. So, yeah, and for a really long time, I did think of it as something that I should have been ashamed of, and
Hmm.
something that made me, I mean, like, I personally thought that it was something that made me like stupid, but like,
Gosh.
obviously, it is not something that makes me stupid.
Yeah. 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 It's, and it is strange how all these ideas creep up on us, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think it's partly because almost every single interaction with stuttering you ever see in the media is normally a negative one. And
Yes. Yes, I 100% agree with you. It is not accurately represented at all.
mm,
No. Yeah, so as we're getting on the topic of your artwork, what inspired you to create the Stammering Collective? And are you able to tell us a little bit about the inspiration from your work of the Saint Francis in the desert?
Yes. Okay, then yes. Well, it partly came out of the work of a guy called Sven Sneerson. I hope that's how he pronounces his name.
It's okay if it's
Um,
not.
and and he's from Iceland, and he made this set of photos of people who were actively stammering, and he talked about this as looking at people's individual stammering, at people's stammering aesthetic. And I saw these photos, and I found them quite mind-blowing. It was the first time that I had seen pictures of people stammering that weren't um, um, that come and they weren't with captions about are you struggling with your speech and things like that. So I was fascinated by this idea of the stammering aesthetic, and I just wondered what my stammer would look like. So I thought, right, I will try and do a self-portrait of myself stammering, but depict this in a positive light. So I did a Google of paintings of people stammering, and I couldn't really find any in art history. I found lots of photos that people had taken, and abstract versions of their stammer,
Mhm.
but not really capturing people in paint in the act of stammering. So so I was trying to think of how to depict myself stammering, and I can remember going to the Frick Museum in New York, and seeing the seeing the Giovanni Bellini painting of Saint Francis in the desert, and 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 it's been in the back of my mind for years and years, and I couldn't quite pinpoint why. And it suddenly struck me it's because he looks like he's having a stammering block. He's in this state where he's where in his case he's receiving the stigmata, but his head's thrown back, and he's and he's in a situation where he's temporarily out of control of his body. And this is just like what the experience of stammering is like. If you have that temporary loss of control, and so I thought I would paint this portrait in the style of Giovanni Bellini, and I added a few clouds in like that there are in his painting, and it started off from there, and then I got in touch with a few other friends in Cambridge where I live, Patrick Campbell and Ramdeep Roman, and under lockdown we go for these walks, and I'd and I persuaded them to be my next portrait victims, and it all stemmed from there, really. Yes, yeah.
So, I think that this is a absolutely beautiful, um, representation of exactly what stuttering looks like and feels like. Like for example, like for me, I don't really have as many like repeated sounds, but I do have more of like that sense of like not being able to like have the words come out. And I
Yeah,
really feel like that your representation of all of this is is allowing like such a more positive light for all people who stutter, and it's really inspiring as well.
that's that's very nice of you to say so. It's um um I do think it's it's sort of important that there is that visibility there, because um most of that time you just don't have any visibility of stuttering in society, apart from all of the narratives around people overcoming their stutter, um, like Joe Biden, or uh, uh, or else it's a comedy thing like uh, Michael Palin in A Fish Called Wanda, or else it's a sign of some sort of evil neurosis, like uh, um, there's a K drama that I've been watching with my daughters, um and the murderer's got a stutter that he that is part of that plot line too. But he's obviously evil from the start, because he's got
Yeah, yes,
a,
definitely.
a, stutter, hasn't he? Yeah. So it's so I think it's quite important to have these images out there of people stammering. Yeah, and
Mhm.
and make it much more normal for people to see. Yes.
Yeah, so how long have you been either studying or painting for, and how do you think that your stutter helps with your creative outlook on things?
Okay. That's an interesting one. Well, I I studied fine art, largely painting, back in the 80s, and I worked as a graphic designer and an illustrator for years. But then I got obsessed by gardening, so I work in a botanic garden now. But 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 I started painting again in earnest about 6 years back, and most um, of, of my recent paintings occurred in my spare time since then. Yeah. Um,
Um,
how has it affected my and how has my stutter affected my painting? Um, in a strange way, I think it is partly why I paint in the first place, because at school, I think you become often, often quite introverted and reclusive at school if you have a stutter, and it's framed in terms um, of being a defect, and and I guess that retreat back into yourself, it was almost that place that I used to paint from as a kid, and 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 it's a space where fluency isn't an issue in any way. You can just be quiet and sit in a corner and paint
Yeah.
um, our way, and you can put that thing on our wall, and you don't really have to say anything, do you? Of course, that was quite naive in a way, because any artist has to talk about their work at the end of that day. But so I do think that having a stutter partly is why I started painting in the first place. In the last 5 or 6 years, though, it has formed quite a core of how I've explored my stutter, and it has made me re-evaluate how my relationship with my stutter quite a bit, and it's also made me think again about exactly how you paint, and things like fluidity in paint, and if there can be such a thing as a disfluent painting stroke, things like that. So I keep on experimenting with ways of trying to use paint in a way that has got a relationship with my stutter, which I'm finding quite interesting at the moment. The results often look quite appalling.
Oh, I bet not. I
but,
bet not.
but early days, yeah, we'll see what happens. Yes, yeah. But it has been quite fun, though. Yeah, I published a few of these on my Instagram account, starting to involve accident and smearing paint in self-portraits there, and I will just see where that takes me over the next few years. Yes, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so incredible. I'm like, oh, um, as a person who is currently studying operatic classical performance, I think that the reason why I was so drawn to music is that when I sing, I don't have to worry about any of my stutter. Like I can sing whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about having that issue with not being fluent in my words. And it's
Yeah.
just this sort of like freedom from uh my stutter sometimes. And I feel like that if I could sing everything that I say, I totally would.
um, I read an interview uh, with the singer Carly Simons, where she says almost exactly the same thing, and how in her childhood she'd um, she had quite a pronounced stammer, and and, and that when she used to sing, um, um, it was a space that didn't have a stammer
Yeah.
in it, and she used to enjoy that experience. Yes, yeah. Um, uh, um, uh, and what parts do you sing? Are you a soprano or
Um, I'm a soprano.
wow? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I just got done doing La Boheme, which was
wow.
yeah, and I played Mimi in that, and then I also did La Cenerentola by Rossini, and I was
Right. Yeah.
Florinda in that. So really awesome, so much fun.
Wow, how exciting! Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, um, um, is it Mimi who dies from consumption at the
Yeah.
end? Wow, yeah,
Yeah, she does die of consumption. Poor thing.
yeah, yeah. Gosh, yeah. What
Yeah,
an exciting part to play. Yes, yeah.
I know. Oh my gosh, I loved it. It was so much fun. Um,
And do you feel that having stutter gives you any yeah, and apart from entering this fully fluent place when you sing, does your stutter influence your uh, experience of singing or the arts in any way?
I think that my stutter is almost like an inspiration point for me. It's taken a very long time to get to the confidence point, um, as I am now. Like I can, as a child, I was very introverted and I didn't have a lot of friends, and I would just kind of like keep to myself almost. But I think that my stutter as a child was not as prominent as it is now. But I think that being at an art school where there are many, many people who have disabilities of all sorts, that it allows me to feel less alone. And it also allows me to feel like that using my stutter, I can be an advocate for all people. Because my dreams of being an opera singer, not only to be able to perform, but to be able to someday use the platform that I would have to stop the stigmatization of like stuttering on social media and in like movies, and also to stop like the discrimination against people who do have stutters in like the workplace or in like everyday life, because like I'm sure that you've also had this experience, but there are a lot of really uneducated people in the world, especially when it comes to stuttering. Like the amount of people in like the past week that I've like had encounters with that are extremely ableist is like shocking. So I feel like that my passion for creating the documentary is to educate as many people as I possibly can.
Hmm. Sounds great. Yes, yeah. And it's um and it makes for a much more interesting society if you've got images of inclusion everywhere. It's just much more interesting, isn't it? Hearing other sorts of voices, and yeah, yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So do you have any specific questions for me that you would like to know? I'm happy to answer anything really.
Um, um, I was I was wondering what um um your current speech therapy looks like now, because I know that things have moved on hugely since I was young, and that Crystal Kuba is such an advocate of stuttering pride that I'm just intrigued to hear what it is like from the receiving end. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh. As I said before, I love Crystal so much. She is such an inspiration, like not only for me, but like almost like my entire family too. Like my entire family thinks that it's really incredible that like I'm able to have a person who also stutters to talk to, because before her, like I had never met anybody else my entire life who had a stutter like I did.
Wow.
Um, Yeah, so this is all so new to me, but I think that what I love most about how speech therapy is that one, it's like on Zoom, so I don't really have to like meet with a medical practitioner every week, and I don't have to like leave school to go see a speech therapist. So it's like really easy and accessible. Um, and I really love how AIS is able to give students and people the financial resources to help them to pay for their treatment. And I think that that's really important, especially when like not everybody is able to pay for speech therapy. And I feel
Yeah,
like it should be able to be accessible for everybody. Um, but she really provides like a super safe environment for me to just like speak not only about like my stutter, but like everything awesome that's going on my that is happening in my life and everything that's, not as awesome in my life, because I feel like that everybody should be able to have that outlet so that they can speak about their problems and
yeah,
not having to worry about like, oh, I don't want to stutter, or like I don't want to like seem that I'm stupid, or like, but it's really important for me that I have a speech therapist who has a stutter, because I feel so much less alone.
yeah. Uh, Crystal is quite amazing, isn't she? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gosh, I wish I could have had my speech therapist when I was young. Yeah, yeah. Uh, um, um, um. So, uh, uh, um, and and have you ever been to any stuttering conferences, like the Friends one?
Oh goodness. I'm trying to get to I know that Crystal has spoken to me about all of those cute little conventions, and I really, really want to go to one over the summer with my mom.
Oh,
I'm
you
hoping to
go.
go to like I'm not sure if Friends is happening this year, but I'm really interested in that one. And I've been trying to do a few of like the teen um support groups
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are on Zoom, because I think that that would be really cool to meet other teens who stutter. Um, I'm not really sure when the next AIS like huge conference is, but I will definitely be attending. So,
I really think you should. Yeah. I attended my first one just this year, and
oh, yay.
it was quite a mind blowing moment being in a room with hundreds of people who sound roughly like you,
Yeah.
and and uh, uh, um and you felt like you could approach just anybody, uh, uh, um and um and and you instantly had this rapport there. It was very, very exciting. You'll absolutely love it when you first go. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so awesome, like to meet with you and to get to know you a little bit more. You make me feel so inspired with all of my art, and hearing about your incredible collection of work. Oh gosh, this made my day.
Oh, that's um, uh, extremely kind of you, and good luck with your singing over the next few years.
Thank you so much.
Um, I'll listen out for. I will watch out for your name in lights. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, it was so nice to get to know you. It was so nice to meet you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Um, thank you, and um, and have good holidays when they come. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Wow, Paul is such an beautiful soul, an incredible artist. His art is so inspiring and spreads such an important message.